Hi, Bianca.
Hi, Alex. I was like, I am so glad you didn't have to hear the behind the scenes of me like coughing up my life. I was like, yeah, I'm ready for stream. And then Cayenne had this like ginger thing, and it was all bad. It was a little questionable. I was concerned there. Meanwhile, tea.
Meanwhile, T.
What's so
How you doing today?
doing all right. Doing all
Yeah.
right. You know. Um, yeah, doing all right. I always say like I'm definitely appreciative of just the crew, the crew and just like being able to build really cool things together. I think that is always exciting. So I think even during periods of like grief and transitions, being able to see new things come to life is always cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I'm doing.
Did you I was scroll it's a lot. And I'm glad that we're all get to be here for each other and, makes it a little bit more than just a place to work, which is pretty cool. But I was this weekend scrolling through YouTube and came across the cut that Brett made of us, which was been referred to in chat. And I didn't expect it. I saw that he had like sent, he's like, hey, I'm gonna do this thing, and I like didn't totally pay attention to Slack, and then I like literally saw it just for the first time in like my YouTube feed, and I was like, what? And it was so good. So everyone should go check that out at some point. It's a
I was
fun
like,
little reel of us singing.
how did it feel to be famous on the internet?
I mean, I don't know if I thought I would be there. I threw the short up there on YouTube. But don't leave us. Go there, open a new window if you're gonna go. But I never I don't know how much I thought like a year or two ago I'd be like making YouTube shorts and loving it.
Okay, so you did not think that you would really kick off your singing career singing.
I don't think I ever thought anything as far as singing.
What?
Singing was a no-no. I don't
That's real.
I singing's not something that I've ever like I sing a lot to just like myself and my child. But I'm not embarrassed, but it's not something that I do in public very much.
Okay, that's real. That's real. Did you were there local requests for autographs upon, did you broadcast the short to the streets?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can't leave my house. I've just been mobbed, you know.
wow.
There's
Wow.
there's yeah, no.
Did you sign some Wilco shirts, send it out into the random streets? No.
Yeah, I have lookalikes that run out of my house at random times just to make
Oh,
sure
okay.
that if they can't get me.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Just
I'm glad
I,
I'm glad we're entertaining Sandra. That's really the important part. If
no,
Sandra's
no,
having a good time, we're all having a good time.
no, it's so funny. I even think the timeliness of me talking about your singing career. So I think we were discussing some stuff around like just like general stream plans and stuff like that. And I was like, is it Beyonce? Are you the Beyonce of the group? So clearly Alex is leaning into just the singing career. More to come, more to come.
Sure.
Just chaos. Absolute
Yeah.
chaos. Okay,
The
what
number of times in a given day that I sing some verse of Wheels on the Bus is very high. But that's
are
what
we going?
happens when you have a toddler.
Are we going for like? Do we do R&B wheels on the bus? The wheels on the bus. Like what kind of vibes?
Sure. Anything.
Okay.
No, I usually just go normal Wheels on the Bus, but then
Okay.
I get silly with like what's happening and what's going on because that's more
Okay.
fun to me. Yeah.
Okay. It's real. It's real. Okay. I see the
Yeah.
vision. We're currently mapping out Alex's mixtape sing along song with in all the things. No, that's good. Okay, what do we do for snacks? So snacks today.
I didn't
Um,
bring any snacks today. I feel so terrible. I just brought my tea.
oh, okay. Well,
I've got my nice raw pu'er.
the puer. I have the drink I was choking on. Not
Mm,
sponsored.
yeah.
Not sponsored. Some ginger love. We also have some Fit Joy, courtesy of Delta Airlines flight.
You gotta get those snacks. Someone was
Yes,
just telling me that Delta does a better job with snacks than most. Like they got more options and
they're
it's
really
pretty good.
good. They're really good. I feel like yeah, I like United has a strong it's called takeout. It's the box, not sponsored.
Okay.
Hashtag. But they had like this really good box. It has like a mixture of things. But I will say this was it's a strong contender. Like I feel like Delta gives a lot of good you know, allergen friendly snacks, which I feel like is very important to the mix.
Yeah.
So I think that's a thing. So that, you know, it's a little tasty.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What did we do? Oh, last week. In case you missed it, definitely be sure to check out stream from last week.
That was maybe my favorite stream yet.
It was fun. It was fun. I think like, okay, Alex, like what were some of your takeaways?
So last week was the first time that we like built a full-on app on stream from start to finish, and it worked. And we did a little more. Like we came up with some funny things to do in stream, and we did them. And the reason that it worked is because we had some awesome people in chat helping. Chef Bren as always was there, but especially shout outs to Craig Codes and RJ Pearson. Like the two of them were in there walking me through all the things. And like if I had a question before I could even get to Google, they had answered it in chat. It was so good, and it was just it showed me why coding on stream can be so much fun and just like change the game for me. It was so good. And it worked. Like we built something and it worked.
Yes.
And I generally knew how to do it, but like I didn't. We built it in a different way than I expected. So
Yeah.
I was very happy.
It was so fun. I also love just kind of the little Easter eggs we threw into different pieces. Also we had a few mic drops in there. So I thought that was kind of cool with like who wrote this blog post, and then come to find out,
it was like Craig.
Yeah. I think we were like trying to correct Craig. We were trying to code. I don't know. We were splaining something. We're stream splaining. And Craig's like, I wrote this, so I know what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we got some fun musicals, some classic rock mixed into our demo. Again, courtesy of Craig. It was just great. So, yeah, it was so good. Oh wait, do we have a joke? What's the difference between a Bigfoot and a Yeti? This is from Birdables. One's a little cooler. Yeah, I have an off-brand Yeti, but Yetis are great. This is a very modern joke. This joke only existed for the last like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
right.
The Yetis are pretty strong. They, you know, the Stanleys did like. You know, they were having their moment, but I feel like Yetis,
they're good coolers. I have Arctic off-brand one, but it's all good. So what do we got today? We mentioned it yesterday, so it's not that big of or last week, so it's not that big of a surprise. But I think hopefully we'll do some rocking out again today too. We got Sam Agnew joining us on stream in a few moments, I think, and Sam's a developer. Evangelist, he's been at Twilio for a long time. Like he can correct me, but I want to say 8 or 9 years. And so much fun to have around and just knows the ropes. He was such a helpful person when I first joined, just like helping me get up to speed, telling me what was going on, and continues to be a super helpful person in so many different ways across the DevNet, and just brings the energy whenever he's there for like a big meetup. He always takes it up a notch in a great way. So we're super excited to have him.
Yeah,
join us.
I also love, like, for me, I love that, like, Sam to me is so authentic. So I think even just like, how do you bring parts of yourself into the work that you do? I feel like we've been able to see all the parts of Sam, which I think is like really exciting, rather than seeing like, okay, this person separates this side of them, right? So I'm super excited for y'all to kind of, you know, learn more about Sam. And also Sam is, you know, super sharp, super talented. And also I feel like Sam always has a fun adventure. You know, like the person that comes back and you're like, Okay, what adventures do you have to like let me know about? Tell me about your travels. I don't know why. It's like that's my like tell me about your travels voice.
That's your like sleep.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. I feel it.
So yeah. So we're super excited to have Sam. Okay, I don't know. Where is Sam?
Sam's there.
Hey,
Oh.
what's up?
Hey Sam.
I'm like
Hey, Sam.
super zoomed in.
Yeah, we got all of you.
We do.
Just all of the Sam. The vertical makes it especially. There you
Yeah, I guess 'cause it's
There
like
we go.
Yeah, that looks like a normal Zoom call perspective now. Yeah, hey, how's it going? I think it's been a while since I've been on one of these streams, so it's good to be back. I see we still got Robert Tables in the chat.
We can have a whole debate about whether it's Robert Tables or Robertables.
Bobby Tables.
Yeah.
Bobby Tables. That's new. Okay.
Yeah.
I like Bobby Tables.
Well, yeah, I think that's what it's from because it was like an old XKCD comic.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was like someone named their kid like something that was an SQL injection, so it deleted all the students in the database.
I love the old nerd humor here.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we got a lot of fun people in chat. Kat's here. Stephen Nick is here. We had some RJ Pearson love. This is so good. Of course, dropping that comic there. It's pronounced like convertibles. Robertables. That's fine. I like it.
Thanks.
So, how long have you been on the DevNet, Sam? You've been here for like a hot minute.
Yeah, 9 years. You were correct when you said that earlier.
Okay. Sweet. I'm trying to think so you joined in 2015.
Yep. Yeah, June 1st, 2015. So yeah, this summer.
Wow.
This is my ninth summer. Is that ninth summer or after 9 years? Is it the 10th summer? I don't know.
Oh, that's a good.
I don't know how to count.
Oh, June's the beginning of summer. This was your 10th summer, we'll call it.
Yeah. Yes. No, yeah. So yeah, when I started, I think Twilio was like 300 people. In my onboarding session, Jeff Lawson, founder of Twilio, for those who everyone probably knows that. He was like there for the onboarding sessions. Like he used to do like a presentation during each onboarding session. So I don't remember what it was. I think it was he did the whole draw the owl thing, where he showed like the thing where it's like draw 2 circles, then draw the rest of the fucking owl. That was like the image that it said that on the screen. Right. Jeff was in Brent's interview.
Oh, Jeff did Brent's. Wow.
Brent was I think 1 year before me, or maybe even a year before me. So he's the only one. He's the only one still on the DevNet who's been around longer than me, I think.
Was Dom's not technically on the DevNet, but was he there before you or around the same time?
No, he joined about a year and a half later. I interviewed Dom.
Oh, so okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's one more. Kind of.
Is there one more?
Elmer.
Oh, yeah, because
Elmer's OG SendGrid.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Actually, I didn't think about that. Yeah, because I guess SendGrid was a different company back then.
Yeah.
Wow.
SendGrid was a Denver-based company. I had some friends working there. Went to their offices occasionally, but that was. I mean, that's going back a ways. So you've been through a lot here. I'm just like, do you have any things that are like highlights that happen, like maybe some of like our signal events or other things that like you're just like, this was just so cool?
Over 9 years is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
There's always like, what's up, Gar?
I do. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna run us back. Back a little bit. Okay, so even before we get into all the fun stories, like first and foremost, like why DevRel, right? So you told us about like you started off, like back in 2015, right? Like 2015. But yeah, like what why was that a thing? What was Twilio then for you, right? And how did it kind of fit into this like the Sam journey? Just kind of curious about that.
Oh yeah, that's a great question. That's something I could probably talk about for a while. So
Sweet,
like
we got another hour and a half, so you're good.
cool. Yeah. So like when I went to Rutgers for college, and like one thing about and I was doing computer science, and one thing about that place was that it had a really, really like a top-notch hacker community. And around I guess 2012, 2013 was when we started doing like a lot of hackathons. And we had one at Rutgers called Hack RU. So like, I remember like when I was I was like a sophomore, and I was in my data structures class. And this guy, Devin, who was like, I guess, running Hack RU that year, came in, and he was like, "Hey, everyone, we have this event that you should all come to next weekend." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds like fun." And then I went there, and I just saw because up until then, I thought of like programming as I mean, I had fun with it, but I was like, my experiences with it were like not doing fun stuff. It was like,
Yeah.
like algorithm efficiency analysis, like big O analysis, all that stuff, which I actually like that stuff too. But like, that's what I thought it was. I was like, that's what you do. And then I go to this hackathon, and I see people building like the dumbest stuff you've ever seen, kind of like, it was just like, and that I was just like, whoa, like you can do like fun stuff with this and cool stuff. Like I forget what it was so I went to that, and then I got involved with that community. There's this place called The Cave, which was an acronym for something, but it was like this guy, Lars, who like worked in the computer science department. It was just like this place with a bunch of Linux machines where like people could just go and hang out. And I ended up like getting a job there as like an iLab assistant. So I was just like running a computer lab basically, and that's where like everyone in the hacker community hung out. So we would all hang out there and like build stuff together, and like it was this like collaborative environment where we were all kind of like teaching each other like interesting things, like all the new JavaScript framework at the time, which was probably Angular, I think. It was like, or no, people were even using Ember back then, I think. Actually, yeah, even jQuery was like kind of like hot at the time, like in.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like because you're talking about like early like 2010s.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the height of my like Ruby on Rails days.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was a lot of Ruby on Rails, like, because I remember like starting to learn Python, which like I'm still like a big Python guy, but like, yeah, there were some people using Rails like that, and there were all those like jokes floating around about like Rails hipsters and stuff, and like, yeah, I remember someone was like, "You have to learn Rails," and I was like, "But I don't want to learn another like." But yeah, anyway, just to get back, I guess getting back to the point, I am going somewhere with this that eventually.
Oh, we're
on this journey with you, Sam.
Sam, we're flowing together.
So yeah, in that whole community was like, I guess I kind of like developed a passion for sharing knowledge, and like, I don't know, like I have a very short attention span, so like I work on a lot of small projects at a time. So eventually I started running Hack RU like a year or two later, and that was awesome. So I would develop a relationship with all the companies we would get to sponsor the event. So Twilio at first was like a company that I would email asking for money, being like, "Hey, can you sponsor my event?" And Rob Spector, who used to be the head of the DevNet team, like way back when, he hired me and Brent. He would be the person who would come to Hack RU and like all the other hackathons. Like him and like John Gottfried at the time was another developer evangelist who now he's one of the founders of MLH, Major League Hacking. So like, yeah, like it'd be the two of them would be at different hackathons that I would go to. So I'd always see them doing like the live coding demo and the opening ceremony. And like back then there was more than just like nowadays. If you go to a hackathon and see like the Twilio 5-minute demo, that might be the only time during like an opening ceremony that you see code. But back then there were like, I think that was also around the time where like VCs were just throwing money at any dumb idea that came their way. So there were more, there were like, not to say API companies are a dumb idea, but there were a lot of companies in general, like a lot of smaller startups. So there were more just API demos, and it was pretty cool. But I remember the Twilio one was always the most fun. And this is like not, I guess I'm biased, obviously, because that's the demo that I do. But like, this is like what I thought before I worked at Twilio.
Twilio's the fun demo because like it just works. Like you just like, let me make your phone ring. Text this number, something happens. Like that's nice.
It was fun there. And then like at the time it was SendGrid too. It was like Twilio and SendGrid were the two API companies that did cool stuff. You have Mike Swift from SendGrid, who was also MLH founder. Like he was like always wearing the blue hoodie, and John was always wearing the red hoodie. So it was like the blue and red. Like he was the other person who would have cool demos.
Yeah.
Now SendGrid is Twilio, so it's like, you know.
It's just if you have a cool demo, they're like, we got you. Come join the family. Yeah.
So it ended up being that like, you know, and like after the event as an organizer, we would all go out for drinks and stuff afterwards. So I would get to know like a lot of people on various DevRel teams, and I was like, wow, this job seems really cool because it seems kind of like the stuff I'm already doing every day. Yeah. Like when I'm in the cave in the hacker community, like, because we would like run workshops and stuff like to help like teach like the newer students. Like we would try to teach them stuff they wouldn't learn in their classes. Like we would try to teach them basic web development and like how to use APIs. And Twilio was often one of the go-to examples because it was like something that's really easy to work with that you can have a tangible result like right away with a little bit of code. So it'd be like, you know, people would just be like, oh, whoa, you just like, I just wrote Python code that texted my phone. So like, you know, I run Twilio workshops in the cave before I was even close to graduating and like trying to get a job at Twilio. So then
I feel like there's a few of people on your team. Like I think Nathaniel had a similar story where it was like came out of the like hackathon space in school, and then just like this was almost like a natural progression, which is so wild to me because this is kind of a niche job that we all have. It's like
I feel like the people, like the right people tend to gravitate towards it. And I remember Nathaniel, I interviewed him when he was like interviewing for his job, and I remember he was telling me he ran like a Twilio Quest workshop.
Oh yeah.
And I think Marcos at the time, he was on our team as well. He was like sending Nathaniel like materials to use for like, he ran like a Twilio Quest workshop at his like university. It was like ended up being like a thing, kind of like the thing I was doing where, and I think that came up a lot during my interview process where it was just like, oh yeah, I've already kind of done this job. And then also I did this thing called Hack NY, which was like this like fellowship program where like at the time it was you submit an application, they look at all the stuff like you did outside of class. Usually it's like, you know, like you submit all your projects and like and they pair you up with like an internship at a startup in New York and like free housing at NYU dorms. And I ended up working at this startup called Order In, which was like, they kind of described it as like Twilio for food ordering. So it was like
it was like DoorDash before DoorDash.
It was like a food delivery API. So it's like you could make a DoorDash clone with it essentially.
Cool.
And I was like one of like, I was an intern, but they only had like 2 other engineers. So it was like one of 3 engineers, I guess 4, and count the CTO. So like, and then at the end of my internship, I continued working for them because they were like, hey, we need someone to like pay to go to hackathons and stuff. So I ended up doing like DevRel for them my senior year of college.
Nice. And
this is actually a funny story because like, I had already known. They were like, yeah, like I already had the idea that I was going to work for them when I graduated. I was like, okay, that's like I got this like kind of job offer already on the table for this company I'm already still working for, kind of. So then I was just like, okay, well, I should still interview at other places, right? Because if nothing else, I could like get another offer and make them give me more money or something.
Right.
So I interviewed. Twilio was the only company I interviewed for.
There you go.
Senior year, because I'd already thought, I was like, oh, this order in thing, that's my main plan or backup plan. So I was like, oh, like the only other companies I like only want to interview for somewhere I would actually want to work. And I think at the time SendGrid was like ramping down their DevRel program. So I was like, okay, Twilio. So I messaged Rob Spector on Facebook. And I was like, hey, is your team hiring?
Sign of the times. Sign of the times.
I mean, I still use Facebook Messenger because I'm in some group chats, but like that's not the default way of hitting someone up now. But like I messaged him on Facebook, and he was like, why don't you send me an email there, champ? Because that's how he talks.
Really?
Yeah. And he, like, I emailed him my resume. Yeah, Brent knows. Yeah, he'd be like, yeah.
Hey there, champ. Okay.
Yeah.
Holy biscuits? Oh gosh.
He did.
Did he also say holy biscuits, or is that a Brent?
It might be both. But like, he had like high school football coach energy. Like and I think like he was a big football guy. He loved the Patriots, but I say was like past tense, like as if like he is.
Well, he's no longer. We don't see him on a daily basis. So,
yeah, like, I mean, he lives in my neighborhood now, so like, but I still don't see him on a daily basis. But anyway, yeah. So like, I interviewed at Twilio. Long story short, got the job, and then the day that I got my Twilio offer was also a day that the CTO of Order In called me and told me that the company was shutting down. So like.
Worked out. Yeah.
He was like, hey, we couldn't secure another round of funding, so we can no longer pay you. So we actually are just going to, like, shut down. And I was like, oh, well, I just got an offer from Twilio. And, like, I was planning on taking the Twilio offer.
Yeah.
And we were both, like, I was, like, relieved that I was like, oh, now I'm not, like, abandoning you guys. And he was like, oh, thank God, we're not, like we didn't just like screw you over. And another fun fact is that Ricky Robinette, who was on the DevNet team as well, now he runs DevRel at Cloudflare.
Yeah,
he worked at Order In. He was a developer evangelist at Order In before Twilio. So
did you like tell him about, or he must have known about Twilio, but like, so you came first.
He came first.
Oh, he came over to Twilio first.
Yeah, I think I joined Order In like right after he left. So we had known each other, but like we didn't work together until I worked at Twilio. But I remember he was just like, I don't know, like when I first started Twilio, we were like, we had that Order In connection.
That's funny.
I remember like when the CTO was like, yeah, he's like, oh, you got an offer at Twilio? Oh, that's so great. You're going to be working with Ricky. So that's really cool. So I guess that is ultimately how I ended up at
I was on there for that one. That's a good story.
Oh, there's actually another thing I should mention, which is because Twilio is fun to build projects with. I built like my first like project that went viral was a Twilio project.
Okay.
And it was called Prank Roulette, and definitely violates our terms of service.
You weren't an employee back then. You could.
Yeah, it's cool. It's still. I think it's still like my top starred GitHub repo. Like, but it was like a thing where like I think it used what's it called, Twilio clients, like the web browser phone thing. It used that, and you put in two phone numbers, and it calls them both from a Twilio number, so they each think that the other person was calling them, and then they get in an argument. So I would call two pizza restaurants, and then like it'd be like, hey, can I help you? Can I help you? You called me. And then people would like, it'd be like these like two middle-aged Italian guys cursing at each other.
And you're recording, and you have the whole audio on the other side.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is that went viral, and it ended up I kept running out of Twilio credits. So what I did was I would use the promo codes from hackathons, and I would like use them for a bunch of different accounts. And I had this thing where like if I would get the error of like not having enough credits, I would just switch out the account SID and off token. So I was like, I had this whole like I was like scamming Twilio of like promo credits,
tens of dollars at a time. Yeah.
It probably ended up. I probably made a couple $100 off that, but like I was a broke college kid, so I couldn't afford to like. And like that came up in my interview too. Rob Spector thought that was like,
resourcefulness.
Yeah. So that was another Twilio experience I had pre-employee.
That's fun. And then you get a Twilio account, and a few of them are like we do have accounts that are like 50, 60K in debt on Twilio. Yeah. Which is fun, I guess. But that's because we have to show demos and do fun things like I don't know, have shortcodes.
My employee account is like I think in the red $800 or $900, but it still works because it's an employee account. So.
Just for everybody else who's not an employee, that is only works for employee accounts. So we will shut you off if you go into the red on a normal account. Just a heads up.
If you go a little bit into the red, you might have some leeway to put money to like refill. Like if you're like a couple dollars, it's not like an automatic, but a lot of demo accounts, I'll be like preparing to do a demo for an event and be like, oh no, like
and especially with the new A2P stuff or the toll-free verification, I've had to like share phone numbers. Like I think your last PyCon, was that PyCon where we did trivia?
Yeah.
Yeah. We ran some Python trivia via SMS at PyCon and had it all set up on one of our accounts, which was fun. So you're in DevRel, you're a Twilio, and you've been here for a while. So now I get to ask my question of like, what are some highlights of like, DevRel, DevNet stuff at Twilio?
So that's a good one because there's a lot that happened over 9 years. I think one of them I guess would be getting to meet Tony Hawk. That was pretty cool.
That works. I feel like that's a highlight for anybody.
That's a nice cool start. It's like a cool kickoff to the what's been your highlight?
So like at Signal, I forget what year it was it 2018 or 2019?
The Tony Hawk.
He was like a speaker at our Signal conference. Either one of those years. I think it was
2018.
2018.
Was that and that's the one where you guys used AI, I think, in a demo to do Hawk or Not, right?
I don't remember. I think so.
I think Jeff did. I think that was Jeff's barn burner. Was he would take a picture of Tony Hawk and just get a response, is this Hawk or not?
Oh yeah, because it was like that Silicon Valley joke.
Yeah.
It's like hot dog or not.
Hot dog, not hot dog. Yeah.
Hot dog, not hot dog. Yeah, it was Tony. Yeah, I remember that. And I think like Jeff was doing the live coding on the stage, but he made like a typo, and Dominic ran out on stage to help him fix the typo because he noticed that he wasn't catching it.
Yeah.
So there's like a picture somewhere of like Jeff, Tony Hawk, and Dominic standing on stage. But yeah, like when I was a kid, I would always play Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. Actually, I still throw those on every once in a while. So There's
some games that you just fun to play for like 20 minutes here and there.
Yeah. So it's like, like the soundtrack would be like getting me into music. Like a Motorhead was on one of them, and like Suicidal Tendencies, and it would get me into like metal and punk from listening to the Tony Hawk soundtrack. So it got me into skateboarding as like a teenager too. With like skateboard a lot because of the Tony Hawk games. So like meeting Tony Hawk was really cool. Because he was just speaking at our conference. So we did. I remember Brent. Actually, that's what I was just about to talk about.
Yeah, Brent interviewed him.
Yeah, he interviewed him, and I was like in that room, like helping with the setup, and I like got to talk to Tony Hawk for a minute. I was like, that was cool.
My hunch is he's a nice guy. He seems like just a nice, solid, grounded dude.
Yeah, I don't think it's a persona. I think he's just like a pretty nice guy. He like I remember I was sitting in the audience for the keynote because, like, back in those days, people on our team used to kind of like run a lot of Signal,
Yeah.
and it was a lot less streamlined than it is today. So my role, like, for the day of was like I was like the runner. I was like people would have, like, if someone needed something, I would be doing it. So like I had to run out and buy, like, I had to go to like Target and buy a bunch of stuff for like one of the green rooms or something. But the head of the developer evangelism team at the time, Devin Rader, texted me during the opening keynote. He's like, "Hey Sam, are you busy right now?" And I was like, "No, what's up?" And he's like, "Can you go to?" He sent me on Google Maps. He's like, "Can you go to this skate shop? It's about a half mile down the road. We need like skateboard decks for Tony Hawk and his team." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I could do that." So like that was the coolest thing I ever expensed. And it turns out it wasn't. It was for us to get skateboard decks signed by them. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, that was also cool.
So do you have a Tony Hawk signed skateboard deck?
Yeah, but it's at Devin's place. Devin still hasn't sent it to me. So this conversation is reminding me that I need to. Like, last time I saw him, like, I asked him, he's like, "Yeah, I still have that sitting there." You know, like, "Oh, Dom's back. Dom's in here too."
Dom's got his. Brent has his.
Well,
yeah, I need to get my, like, I'm pretty sure Devin wouldn't have thrown it out. He already has one for himself, so I'm sure he knows. I'm sure he can send it to me. But yeah, I'm gonna have to reach out to him later today.
Did you just grab anything, or did you pick, like, because I feel like the thing about skateboard graphics, and I dabbled but wasn't really a skateboarder as a kid, but the decks look so cool. Like, they always have the coolest graphics.
Yeah,
so you like going on graphics, or
I tried to get, like, because they didn't have any Birdhouse decks, which was like his company.
Okay.
So I think I got like some generic ones. But it was pretty funny because, like, I was like, when we were getting him to sign them, he was just like, I was like, "Yeah, they're not Birdhouse decks. I just got like what I could." And he thought that was. He's like, "Yeah, it's fine." It's like I've signed a lot of skateboards that were not Birdhouse. But yeah, I got to tell him the. Oh, what's up?
oh no, keep going. Sorry.
Like that cheesy joke where, like, the one that's like, "Yeah, roses are red, violets are blue. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. I got to say that to him, and he was like,
What?
"You didn't write that." I was like, "Yeah, of course I didn't. I saw that on Twitter." But yeah, and they built a giant half pipe in front of the venue, so, like, you know, him and the Birdhouse crew were like tearing it up on the half pipe. That was really cool. I don't think he did any 900s, but he did some. Like, I guess because he's middle-aged. So
yeah, that's fine. You don't need to do 900s all the time.
You work with what you got. I think what's interesting with this story is even that aspect of, like, you know, you went from kind of hackathons to, you know, filling random green room requests. And I think also it was probably a sign of the times too, in terms of just like early Twilio, which was like whatever needed to get done, got done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of curious around, like, you know, early days, right? What were some of those challenges, right? Like, what was top of mind for Twilio? Yes, you were doing evangelism and things like that, but I think versus now, like, you know, you're more focused on like email. So we'll talk about that too. But I'm just kind of curious around, like, what were some of those like big challenges that you feel like Twilio was navigating at the time, you know, early days of DevRel, you know, for the team?
Yeah, it was like things felt a lot more intense back then because, you know, it was like still like kind of startup mode, or like even like pre-IPO especially, and like shortly post-IPO. It was like it was like the fire was under us, where we had to keep the momentum going at all times because it was like, you know, like it was all about growth. So we were like really trying to like keep our like the blog traffic up, and like we were going to so many events. Like a lot of us, but I think especially in Europe, like Phil Nash and Marcos, who were in Europe at the time, they were going to like multiple conferences a month, every month. Like they were just traveling all the time. Luckily for me, a lot of my events were like somewhat local or like able to go take a train or whatever. But yeah, I remember like back then, especially when new products would come out. So like when video came out and when chat came out, which at the time was called IP messaging. Like whenever there was like a new product about to launch, like the whole team would rally around it. And like I remember my first year in 2015, it was like November 2015. So it was like the week leading up to like the Thanksgiving break. It was like we all had to ship like a chat related blog post. So that way like it would be launched and then there'd be like a whole load of content. Yeah, IP messaging, programmable chat, and then conversations. Yeah, IP messaging, which I think even at the time we were just like, that's the stupid name for like, it was like the, it's like the, but yeah, I remember like, yeah, it was always like, it felt like there was a lot of pressure. Like we like if we don't like ship a lot of really good content around this thing, then the product will die or something. Right. And it's like
people didn't know how to use this stuff. Like you had to. Yeah. There's a lot to do.
Yeah, and like a lot of the teams that exist on the DevNet now, like even like developer education, for instance, like a lot of those start off with like some developer evangelist doing a thing and then spending a lot of time on that thing. Like Kevin Winery would spend a lot of his time updating the docs, and he would just like be working on the docs all the time. So then it was just like, hey, this should be its own team. So like, yeah, at the time, like we have great docs now, but like, you know, at first we didn't really have the best docs because no one was like really focusing on it. So yeah, like, yeah, whenever a new thing would come out, like, yeah, I remember like we would always be honing our demos. Like we would all like, we had like a DevRel summit where like one day we just spent several hours all like trying to figure out like a good 5-minute demo for video. So yeah, that was cool. Yeah, it was like, so a lot of the times the pressure was on when new stuff would come out, but then there was also like running Signal, like when Signal was coming out, it's like the first like from February, it was always in May. So like it was like from February to like May, you kind of had like 2 full-time jobs because we were doing the regular stuff, like going to conferences and hackathons and writing content. And then also each of us would take on like one big part of Signal. So yeah, it was just like when I ran Bash, which is like the after party, like me and our former coworker Nikita. And that was like in 2017. And that was just like, it was like every day. It was like, I was like, oh, I also have normal work to do. So it was like at a time where it was like you're working 80 hours a week for like a couple of months just to make, because like we also at the time felt that, oh, if Signal doesn't go well, Twilio will die. Maybe not literally, but yeah, it was a different time.
It's so interesting because it's like at that time, like that was what was needed. And it's like, even though there's like pressure, like the pressure looks different. I also feel like during that time, it was like capital palooza. Money was being thrown everywhere. So like as a startup, you're trying to hold attention. You're trying to like engage customers. And then also, I think Twilio, for some folks, were like, Twilio, like maybe I use that for a hackathon, but like my business, or kind of how did Twilio start to fit into people's lives? Like, I think even just like that evolution over the years. But I was like, so we did a lot of blasts from the past, but we're a little more curious about you. Alex, did you have any questions about Sam the person?
The person that I wanna hear. One of my favorite fun facts about Sam is that he occasionally goes on tour with his band, or with the band that you're in. So you play guitar in a metal band, correct? Yeah.
Been playing guitar, I guess, since I was like 15.
Nice.
Yeah, primarily play metal guitar, and yeah, I've been in a bunch of different bands. Right now, I'm in a grindcore band called Artificial Scarcity, and that.
Do you guys write songs about economics?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, sometimes.
That was such an Alex question. That's right.
Yeah, so we're playing in New York on Thursday actually. So like right now I'm in South Jersey. I'm visiting my mom. So like I'm in my mom's place. That's why she has all these like
pictures of you and your family.
Yeah, actually those ones aren't. I'm not in those ones right there. I'm in
Are you sure this is your mother? No, I'm kidding.
Pictures of me over there.
Okay, good.
I'm in some of those, I guess. But like right now I'm visiting my mom, but tomorrow I'm going back up to New York because we're playing a show in New York, and my other bandmates live in Philly, so I'm kind of in between the two cities. So
Robertables is a big South Jersey fan.
Oh yeah, she's in like Cape May County. I am a little closer to Brent than normal because Brent's in Philly. We're playing in Philly later this month, I think on the 20th. Brent, you should come to that show.
You guys coming out to Denver? Probably too far.
Hopefully one day. I mean, that'd be cool. Denver has a scene, so
yeah,
that'd be cool. But yeah, I played in like thrash metal bands a bunch of times. I think the story I told, the other one I told was like when I filled in on guitar for this thrash band called Paralysis when they went down to South America because like their normal guitarist couldn't get a visa. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm really glad he couldn't get a visa. Yeah, we went down and played like some metal festival in Peru and then a headlining show in Bolivia, and that was like still the most like fun show I've ever played. And
nice.
What's the elevation in Denver? It's like
we're at about a mile high, so 52,000 feet. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember when I was in Denver, it was like one beer would make me more tipsy than it would elsewhere.
Yes, that is correct.
So in Bolivia and La Paz, I think the elevation's
La Paz is really high.
Yeah, it's like 12,000 feet or something like that. Yeah. So like the altitude was like playing a show at that altitude was like I literally was getting lightheaded during the set. So that was fun.
Yeah, it's 12,000 feet. So La Paz is like the mountain towns here in Colorado, but it is yeah.
It was cool though because their public transportation was this thing called the teleférico, which is it's like a gondola system, and that's like that was like one of the main like instead of a subway, it's just like
just gondolas through the city.
Yeah, so because it's in the mountains, so it was like kind of like a ski lift that goes throughout the whole city. It was like, whoa, that was pretty cool.
For sure. That's awesome. And so you play the music there. Did you also have something to do with the Twilio Quest soundtrack?
Yes. Yeah, so when like Twilio Quest, the origin of Twilio Quest was like Kevin Winnery made it, and it was just like a web app kind of thing, and it was just like an 8-bit themed web app. And then when we eventually did Twilio Quest 2.0 or 3.0, I don't know which one, but like 1 year at the company kickoff in January, like there was a presentation with like it was like the new Twilio Quest, which is like the version that exists now, or I guess Terminal Quest now. But
Terminal Quest.
But it was like with the actual game, and it had like the Super Nintendo kind of graphics. And like in the presentation video, which was like in front of the whole company, it had some like chiptunes music in the background. And I was like, I wonder who made that. I went up to Kevin afterwards. I was like, hey, where did that music come from? Like, do you have someone who like, do you have a soundtrack already? He's like, no, that was just some random like royalty free music he found online that he could like put in the background. And I was like, oh, like I know a lot of people in the like the video game music community, a lot of chiptunes artists. So I was like, do you want me to like see if I could put together like a soundtrack for it? And he was like, absolutely. So that ended up being like a project that I took on for a few months. It was like one of my main focuses, and it was a good excuse to convince the company I work for to give my friends money. So that was,
and also to try out music production. Like you had to get people to make this album for you.
Yeah. So like I didn't do the mastering, but like I was like in on all the conversations with it. Like, yeah, it was like a lot of people in the chiptune scene. And I guess for people who aren't familiar, chiptunes just refers to like making music with the sound chips of video game consoles. So it'd be like a lot of times, like what we did for the Twilio Quest soundtrack was it was all patches that would be run on the Super Nintendo sound chip. So like the music in Twilio Quest is music that could play on an actual Super Nintendo console.
That's cool.
Aside from like the mastering, I think that, you know, like Dino, the guy who mastered it, added a lot of like reverb and like effects on top of it, but music itself could be on that sound chip. I forget the name of the sound chip, but but yeah, that was cool. I think we got like, I don't know, like 8 or 9 like prominent like chiptune artists, some of whom like professionally write music for video games. So that was cool, and yeah, I think the soundtrack is really rad. You should all go listen to it. I think it's on SoundCloud. Like Twilio has a SoundCloud.
Wow.
Sweet. We'll have to check that out.
See, Alex, we were talking about Alex's mixtape at the start of this. So
oh yeah,
you can throw that on there.
Do I need to put it on the Twilio SoundCloud?
I'm just saying. I think that
we'll just need to go back. We need to mine all of our previous streams, take all the bits of us singing, and put it on SoundCloud. It'll be great.
Wow. I see the direction that we're going in. No, that's just a thing.
Should we jump into some code stuff while, you know?
Sure.
What do you want to, so Sam, you do a whole bunch of things, but you also specialize in email. I know you've been playing with some AI assistant. What do you want to show us today?
Yeah, I could do like a basic email demo. Cause right now we're as you're familiar with, we're doing like our demo library project.
Yeah.
Where we're trying to catalog all the demos our team does. And I need to record a video of me doing a SendGrid demo. So if I do that on the stream, then I could take the clip from the stream.
100%. We can set that up. So yeah, just
I see the vision. Yep.
Context there. We have so many amazing demos and talks and presentations that we give across the DevNet. And like occasionally we get to reuse those. Like the first talk I actually gave in public at a meetup was a talk that Rashab had created. So like there's a lot of sharing and collaboration, but this sounds kind of crazy. We don't have one place where all of those live. We don't have like one repository that has all of our demos. So myself and Sam and Rashab and Nathaniel and a few other people on the DevNet are kind of trying to work together to set that up so that we can make it just a little bit easier to collaborate. But yeah, is this so this is basically your like 5-minute email demo?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think we should run that because you've already talked a lot about the 5-minute demo.
Yeah.
Maybe before we jump into that then, can you give us like a little bit of primer of like what makes a 5-minute demo special and like what are you thinking about when you create it so that as people watch, they kind of like know what they're kind of on a meta level, what they're looking for, not just what the code shows.
Yeah. So like when we say 5-minute demo, sometimes it's literally 5 minutes. But the goal is for it to feel like 5 minutes. So it's like a kind of like a colloquial term on the dev network where we're talking about like this is our way of like showing Twilio products. It's like our way of like telling the story of Twilio with code to developers. So if you've ever been to a hackathon or like a meetup or something that Twilio sponsored, you might see a developer evangelist do a live coding demo at the beginning of the event or to show you like, hey, this is Twilio. It is, yeah, exactly, Steven. It's like a coding elevator pitch. That's a great. Somehow I've never heard it referred to as that.
I like that.
That's basically what it is. So it's just like a really like a way to show the basic Twilio functionality of whatever thing you're trying to show, because there's so many different Twilio products now that like. Yeah. So the one I would do right now would be the SendGrid one, which is like my version of the 5-minute demo, but for emails. And it's like kind of like everyone does it differently. Everyone has their own like voice and style with it. Mm-hmm. So like, for the regular SMS and voice API demo. You'd have like, typically it's like, you write code to receive incoming text messages, and then you send a phone call out to everyone, but like everyone does it slightly differently. Like depending on how much time you have, you might like, I might write, I'm using Python and Flask, so I might write the Flask app from scratch if I have more time. Or if I know like I'm at an event where it's like, oh, you actually have specifically 5 minutes and can't go over, then I'll like pick which parts I want to leave in or out, spend more time explaining different parts of it. So it's kind of like modular, but like the core of it is always there, where you're like, like the main beats of the narrative. We talk about it as if we're telling a story. So, it's like introducing yourself, introducing Twilio, showing the, like explaining how it's going to work, and then showing the code and writing the code. And then at the end, making the phones ring and all that stuff. So yeah, it's like each different, like, because there's so many different 5-minute demos on the team, we're all trying to like catalog each of them so let's say I'm going to an event and I need to do like a video demo or chat demo or something. It's like I can go look at like what someone else on the team did and like try to do my version of that.
It's so useful too, because like the event I was speaking at, this first meetup I went to, was actually like a DevOps meetup. And so instead of just doing the standard Twilio demo, I did a GitHub CI Twilio demo, where like the CI, if it fails, would text you. And it was just, when you have all these demos at your fingertips, you can kind of tweak them and find the one that's going to resonate and feel the most magic to the people you're working with. So that's, I love that. I'm so happy we're finally doing that, doing it again. But yeah.
I also like this aspect of just like kind of very modular. Like there's kind of this like core of what you want to create. But I do think being able to pick apart pieces, and I'm also even curious about that even from the email side, because I'm like, email probably gets a lot more love from like marketers, but I do think kind of how are you, even this aspect of just like, how do you figure out like what pieces you're going to pick apart from email that might resonate to an audience of developers, to these different groups. So I'll let you take it away, but I'm definitely kind of curious about like, the ways you've been able to kind of pull out some key modules within email that make it like relevant to a different audience that might not always see the value,
For sure. Yeah, that's a great question too, because like, I think like SendGrid's like a big audience for SendGrid is like marketing. Like that's why we have like a product called marketing campaigns, right? So you have your like dynamic templates, and people use it for like often just sending out like emails for marketing. But then there's also like on the developer side of things, like there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. Like in the demo I'm gonna do, I use inbound parse, which is like that's like a thing that like you could do a lot of cool stuff with. So it's kind of like in spirit similar to like the inbound text messaging part of Twilio. So like whenever I'm at like a developer event, I'll show that off, because that's like like, and I think I remember even that like back in the older hackathon days when I would see Mike Swift do his SendGrid demos, he always would use the inbound parse. Like he built this thing once where like you email it a picture of like your Taco Bell receipt or something like that, and it would like analyze your Taco Bell receipt. I don't remember exactly what it was, but he always had a different like demo, like because the Twilio demo was always more standard. Like it was like, but then the SendGrid demo, and I'm kind of like taking a page out of his book, where like a lot of times to show cool things you can do with SendGrid is to like mix and match like different APIs with SendGrid. So like one thing I do is like using NASA's Mars rover API. That's the one I'm going to use this time, where it's like you can email it and it'll send you back a picture of like taken from the Mars rover. And then the other one I have is like generating lyrics with like OpenAI. So it's like kind of like the SendGrid part of the demo stays the same each time, but like the thing that you're interacting with changes. So like, I remember like, Mike Swift had like a hardware thing once where he had a button that would send out the emails. I forgot to plug my laptop in. I got to do that.
Yeah. Well, I want to get back to hardware demos at some point.
Yeah.
We'll get that. We'll get working on that because we have the desire, and it just hasn't been a big enough like thing for enough of us to do it. But hardware demos are fun. There's just something about like pushing a button in the real world or like something happening in the real world. Dom had a great demo he did at one point recently where if you told the AI assistant to change the vibe, it would change the colors in his office, the lights.
Oh, that's cool.
And I love that kind of a demo. There's just like when there's something happening in the real world, it's pretty. But yeah, why don't you, if you want to get your screen share set up, and then we'll let you take it away, Sam.
Yeah, I'll do an attempt at the demo. Luckily, I'm not.
One thing that I'm realizing is, given your role and how long you've been in this role,
Yeah,
you might be the person who's done the most Twilio 5-minute demos. Period.
probably that might
not be anybody else.
That might be true actually. Over the years, I don't know how many I've done, but
you're still the fact is you're still doing them.
yeah,
You're still doing them.
yeah.
There's not like Brent's been around a while. He's not still doing 5-minute demos. Dom's been around a while too. He's not still doing 5-minute demos. Like
That's true. Yeah,
yeah,
because they're doing different stuff now.
yeah.
Whereas I still do them. I guess there's never been a time where I'm at Twilio where that wasn't one of the main things I would be doing. So, 5-minute track jacket badges.
I know we do. I've got my track jacket here. We did a lot of track jacket stuff last week during. It clashes a little bit with this shirt, but that's fine.
Yeah.
I told my friend about these, who's a big Royal Tannenbaums fan, and he was just like, "I need one." I was like, "Okay, I'll let you know."
Mine are in New York, so I can't rock my track jacket right now. But I have like several of them.
Yeah, I've got 2. I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Okay. Tangent off topic. I've seen one PMM who has a blue one.
What?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
And I'm so jealous.
Was he Sengrid related? Like maybe.
I don't think so.
Like
It's Jason, the voice PMM, but I got to ask him where he got
like
that from.
the Twilio logo.
It's almost the exact same thing, and he wears it on some of the calls, and I'm jealous.
Wow, that's gnarly.
Yeah, but cool. So you got the screen share ready for us, Sam, or?
Yeah, I can. I'll click on the present. It's about to go.
Get that up on screen.
Select entire screen.
Bianca, have you ever given a 5-minute demo?
I have not, y'all. I feel like, yeah, that's on our to-do list. I feel like every time I was going to, either something has happened, but it's gonna happen.
Well,
so
we have a stream for you now, so
maybe
one of the streams coming up, we'll do a Bianca builds her 5-minute demo. Because it takes the key to a 5-minute demo is it takes time to build. It's not a 5-minute build.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, totally. But it's like you're bringing folks through the journey. Yeah, I feel like it's been on the to-do list. I call it my Twilio to-do list.
I mean, the hardware stuff has been on my to-do list for like 8 years. So.
Oh my gosh, maybe that could be our build. A collective.
Yeah, I have a plan. I have a plan to do hardware on stream, and that I want to set up a desk cam, because I've got back in this closet over here, which you all can't see. I have a bunch of Arduinos and Raspberry Pis and lights and all that stuff, because for when I did the barn burner at Signal last year, that was part of the set.
Yeah.
So we've got it all. Rashad wants to hang out and do that too. We should just have a hardware jam. Do it on stream.
That'd be great. That'd be really cool.
Okay. Plan it in the planning.
It's going to be in our collective shared doc.
Yeah.
Or something. Cool. All right, let's.
Am I on screen?
You're on screen.
Okay, I'll do this.
I was like, "Who's Samuel?" And then I was like, "It's Sam."
Oh, is that what it says on there? Oh, hello, Samuel. Yeah.
Samuel.
All right, I guess I'm going into demo mode now, and luckily this isn't at a real event, so if I mess up, that's totally fine. Cool. Hello, everybody. My name is Sam Agnew, and I'm a developer evangelist at Twilio. Today, I'm going to be showing you how to write some code to send and receive emails using Twilio's SendGrid product. So, first of all, the way this works is that you have to have a domain set up so that you can. I'm not going to walk through the domain stuff because we don't have time to wait for DNS to propagate. But I have a domain, sagnew.com, that is already verified with SendGrid. And I'm going to show you how to write code to receive and respond to emails, any email that is sent to that domain. And what we're going to do is we're going to have it so that you send an email to this email address corresponding to a number of Martian days into the Mars rover's journey, and it will respond with a picture taken by the Mars rover on that day using NASA's Mars rover API, like over here. I can actually go to that real quick because NASA has a bunch of really cool APIs that you can use. So in this demo, the code that I'm going to be writing will be focusing on the SendGrid part of things. So over here in my terminal, I already have some code written that does the NASA part of it. So I'm going to start off by writing some code to send an email. So this is how that's going to go. I'm going to create a function called send Mars email, and it'll take in some arguments. It'll be the email that you're going to send it to, the email that you're going to send it from, and an image URL. So this will be a URL to an image, basically, that we're going to get from this Mars rover API. So it's going to look something like this URL right here, which is a picture of a very, very tiny, that was a very tiny picture. Let's go to a different one. Let's go to maybe this one. Also a very tiny picture of the sky, it looks like, probably. Yeah, there's lots of, there's like hundreds of pictures in this. Maybe this one will be cool from the navigation camera. Cool. That's a picture from Mars as well, but a very grainy one. So anyway, that's like URL that we're gonna be sending a picture from. So first, I'm gonna use SendGrid's like the mail object that'll create an email. So I'm gonna say the email that it's coming from is the one we pass to this function, and then here I give it the number of emails I want to send it to. So it's plural because you can send an email to more than one address, but we're just going to do the one in this. The assumption here is that you're sending an email to my project, and then I'm responding with another email to your email address. I'm using the word email a lot here, but hopefully you all know what I mean. Then we have to give it a subject line, and I'm going to have it say, here's your Mars rover photo with an exclamation point because I'm really excited. And then I'm going to give it basically the body of the email, which is going to be raw HTML content. So I'll say, thanks for joining my demo. And then if you have any questions, I'm going to give you my contact info. So I'm gonna, try to follow the PEP 8 compliancy and not have super long lines. So it's at Sagnew Shreds or Sagnew@twilio.com, if I can type it. Sagnew Shreds, as in Sagnew is in Sam Agnew, Shreds is in like shreds on a guitar. And then because this is HTML content, and usually you don't want to have to write HTML by hand, but SendGrid also has this thing called dynamic templates where you can construct this and then give it a template ID. You can construct this in our template editor. But for the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to be writing some HTML. So I'll put some BR tags in there, and then an image. So image source equals, and then here is where I'm going to put the image URL. And I got to make sure I close the tag. So I think that's what it'll be. That should work. I think that looks like valid HTML. And make sure I didn't. Yeah, okay. Oh, the parentheses line up. Cool. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my SendGrid client, which you see up here on line 10. I already have that created, and it's using an environment variable to get my API key. So over here, I'm going to do SendGrid client.send. I'm going to send the message I just created. And then just to make sure I'm not like, make sure everything's working, I'm going to have it print the headers. So that's all the code I need to write to send emails. Let me just see if that works real quick. So I'm going to open up my Python shell, and I'm going to say from Mars emails. Oh, look at that. It auto-completed. So I'm going to do send Mars email. So that it's going to send. Wow, yeah, it knows that I must have done this before. So the image URL, I'm going to take a random one from here. Let's say I know that Martian Day 1000 has some cool images on it. So let's take this one, whatever this one is. Oh, that's a cool one. Yeah. So let's do that one. Oh, I had the SoundCloud, the Twilio Quest SoundCloud link copied from earlier. Yeah, you should all go check out the Twilio Quest soundtrack. Cool. So let's take that one and see if it sends me an email. It looks like it did, and I'm going to check on my phone. Yes, I got an email, so that code works. I don't know if you can see this, but it says, you're going to see it backwards, I guess. It says, here's your Mars rover photo, and I received the email on my phone. I would show you on my computer screen, but I don't want to accidentally show you my entire email inbox. Cool. So with that said, now I can show you inbound parse. I can build the rest of this to make it so that you can send me emails. So on here, on the screen, you see I have the bare bones like layout of a Flask application. And the way this typically works is once you have your domain authenticated, you can set up a thing called inbound parse, which will, let's say for Agnew.com, I have it so that like whenever an email is sent to anything on with this as the domain for an email address, it will send a post request to a URL that I give it. So which currently is sagnew.ngrok.io/email. And ngrok is a tool that I use to open up a tunnel from my local machine to give it a publicly accessible URL. So sagnew.ngrok.io points to my local host 3000. And I'm going to have this Flask app running on port 3000. So anytime you send an email to anything that's at sagnew.com, we'll go to this Flask application, which currently doesn't exist yet, and we're going to make it exist. And like the sagnew.com stuff involves, setting up an MX record on your domain with wherever your domain provider is. If you want help with that, there are blog posts and tutorials written to walk you through that. But right now, I'm going to make it so that you can send emails to me. So I'm going to create a new route on this Flask server. It's going to be /email, as you saw, and it's going to take post requests. And whenever a post request is sent to /email, it's going to call this email response function. And I'm going to grab some data from the body of the post request. So the to email is going to be, I think it's just called to with a lowercase. Sometimes I get confused because with Twilio SMS, it's actually uppercase. So to email, from email. From email is going to be from. And that the text of the email is going to be, what am I doing now? Copying and pasting. So the text of the email is going to be just text. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that like the text you're sending is like a number, typically a number between like 1 and 3,000-ish will get you a good result. And I'm not even going to do any real error checking because if you just send me something invalid, you're just not going to get a response, and that's okay. So first of all, I'm going to take your email. I'm going to take the first the first thing in it, which is, I'm assuming, a number. So that way, if you have like a signature or something, that won't interfere with it. And I'm at least going to check to make sure it's a number. So like if it's a digit, Sol stands for, it's like the Martian solar day, and that's just in the Mars rover API. That is like the kind of the word they use, the input they use. So I'm going to define an image URL as that get Mars photo function that exists already in my Mars emails.py. I'm going to give it the Sol. And then if you give me something that's not a number, I'm just gonna use the default of 1000 because that's where I got that cool image from. So I know that one will actually work. So, and then if you send me a number that's too big or like a negative number or something like that, then you're just not gonna get a response. So I'm gonna call the send Mars email function, and that's gonna take the email that it's sending to is gonna be the email that you sent it from. So I'm going to do the from email and vice versa on the other one. And then I'm going to give it the image URL. And then I'm going to return a 200 response just so Twilio knows everything is good. And if I didn't mess anything up, this should work. So let me see, Python app.py. Let's see. All right, no syntax errors so far. So now here's where you can all actually join my demo. And if you send an email to, let's say, mars@sagnew.com. So mars@sagnew.com. I'm going to send one just says test. I'm going to send it to number 1337, let's say. And if you send it a number between 1 and 3,000, which is kind of arbitrary, I just know 3,000 something has results, you should get a response, hypothetically speaking. Sometimes takes some time for it to go through and propagate. Cool. All right. It looks like the code works. I got it. Oh yeah. And I got a response. It says, here's your Mars rover photo. And I go, oh, this one's a cool looking picture. It's a picture of some rocks. It's a lot of rocks on Mars, a lot of rocks and sand and dust and stuff. So that works. Yeah. It looks like I'm getting some responses here. So I'll leave that running in the background for the rest of the stream just so people can play with it. But yeah, that is all the code you have to write to send and receive emails with Twilio SendGrid. My name is Sam Agnew. I'm a developer evangelist at SendGrid and at Twilio, and just showed you some SendGrid stuff. I'll be around for the rest of the day if you ask me questions. That's what I would say if I was at a real event.
yeah.
Tell me come to the Twilio booth if you have any questions.
That was great. That was a 12-minute demo, by the way.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll stop sharing for a minute.
I feel like 12-minute demo kind of feels fine. Like that, feels like you can do a little bit more. 10-ish minutes. I know you guys used to be like very like militant about like it has to be 5 minutes, but like we got to see so much by letting you go for 12.
Yeah, it was always like what I like, and even with that demo, there's a version of it that I could do that would take 5 minutes. But I knew I'm not really like pressed for time right now, so I was like, oh, I'll do like the full version thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was always like, usually if you knew you weren't pressed for time, you'd probably do more like a 7-minute demo or an 8-minute demo. But there were some events where it's like, okay, this one. There were some that you had like only 2 minutes, so it's like you pick and choose what to cut out.
Right.
Like for that one, I probably would have not spent any time showing like the input from the Mars rover thing. I wouldn't have been like looking at the pictures.
No,
I wouldn't have tested the code at first, so there's like little things you can pick and choose, but yeah, that would be one version of the SendGrid 5-minute demo. I'm glad it worked.
Nice. I know.
No, that's right.
I think the other hard part about emails, it's a little slower than text message.
Yeah. And there was a time where we did that. I think that Startup Labs event in Denver, where I did a demo, and like my domain, I didn't realize my domain had expired like 10 minutes before, and it was bad. Like I was freaking out, and that was also the day where like there was all the wildfires, so like I was really lightheaded, and my apartment smelled like a campfire. Air quality was like New York had the worst air quality in the world that day.
Oh, that was like a year ago when it looked like it was Blade Runner out your window.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, and then it was also like my domain, so I had to buy a new domain and like configure it, like, and I was waiting for it to configure like during your presentation because we did a dual presentation.
Mm-hmm.
It ended up working out, but you know, I was really worried about the DNS thing.
Yeah,
because I think I'm kind of glad you brought up, like you said, the email time, because it's like not wanting, kind of creating those moments of delight. So like, what do you feel like, how do you incorporate like delight into, I know I like how you kind of incorporated like the Mars rover, something that's engaging, but like what have been some other ways that you've incorporated delight versus it always having to be like educational email, you know? Because versus like a phone call is like, oh my gosh, someone just called me. It's like, it's a little more interactive and razzle dazzle. But yeah, how do you find yourself kind of creating those moments of delight in email?
Yeah. So like that, like with SendGrid, yeah, because with the phone calls, it's like you kind of get that fun aspect by default. Like whatever you're doing with a phone calling demo, it's like that's fun. So with SendGrid, I try to like combine SendGrid with some other API. So like that way, like as I was saying, like the email part of the demo, the code is going to be the same, but it's like whatever function call I'm doing. So like, Alex saw like I did like a AI lyrics generating one before. So that one would be like you texted the name of your favorite like artist or band, and it would respond with lyrics generated in that artist style. So like that's another fun one. So like I usually just try to find something fun to do with the email, like to make it so that the content of the email is the fun part. And in that one's cool too, because you can have it if you want, like print out the lyrics before the email is sent. But that kind of takes away the, like usually when I'm waiting for the email, because it could take up to like 20 seconds. So it's like good to not have an awkward silence there. Sometimes I'll try to like crack some jokes or something, or I don't know, like keep the momentum going by talking more while waiting for the email. And then when it comes in, you're like, oh, thank God, it works.
Yeah, there's definitely that like anytime you're doing live coding or a demo, there's like those pauses where you're like, I'm just currently talking to fill time, and sorry you all have to hear my voice, but it's just can't be silent. I'm so like,
yeah,
that's. I love how we all went silent right after. That was
because I happened to be drinking water.
That was so awkward. I was like, oh man, we just talked about the bits of silence, and here we are.
Is your lyric generator, is that just with, are you just calling OpenAI directly, or are you doing stuff with AI assistants?
That one I'm just calling OpenAI directly for that one. You could hypothetically have an AI assistant call OpenAI.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty similar. It depends on what other info you want to include or not.
Yeah. I don't know if Dom is still here, but yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with those.
Yeah, like Dom's demos are great.
I was just in Brazil because we had our signal in Sao Paulo, and I did like a talk about AI assistants, and that was fun. I had it so that I gave it like I linked it to Dom should get on and do an AI assistant stream once. I linked it to Bulbapedia, which is like the wiki for all the Pokemon stuff, so then I could like ask it any question about Pokemon, and it would know. It would just like process it using that knowledge source.
Yeah. I like that. That's fun. And I think the demos, anytime you can, some of the magic that you can do with AI, just because you can make the conversation a little more unstructured, is just cool. Because like you could do the same Mars demo with AI, but then also instead of just having the message be that template, you could send it off to OpenAI, have it come back with like, describe what's in this picture. So it's just like, here's a picture of rocks. That's Mars. Like, you know, this kind of your commentary you could throw in via OpenAI.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because I was like the human factor. Because like, yeah, you could see the rocks, but then it's like, I don't know. Then it gets a little too like educational. It's like, here are the rocks on the Mars. Like versus this is cool. It's like a photo of a rock It's just
Yeah.
vibes, you know. But I see the value of both.
Rocks.
See,
Rocks.
yeah. Versus then you start using more text, and then it's like, here's a detailed overview of the rocks.
Let me tell you about these rocks on Mars.
It would be like 2 more lines of code for the demo too.
Yeah, it wouldn't
That's
be a lot.
Yeah, combining maybe one of these days I'll do one with like 3 or 4 APIs in one.
Yeah, and the nice thing about email with AI is you don't care about the latency as much. Like,
Yeah.
sure, you want it to come back, but no one's going to complain if it takes 3 or 5 minutes for an email to come back to them. When
Yeah.
when you're talking on the text message, you want it to be a little quicker because people kind of notice. And on voice, it needs to be instant, or else it's like, what's going on here?
I am still LOLing at Sam's target demo for the rocks.
Yeah, Steven brought some rocks back. You know where I'm gonna go, Steven? You're gonna be jealous, but I'm going not long after we end the stream. I'm gonna go head off to the Denver Gem and Mineral Show, which is like all kinds of rocks, fossils, stuff like that. So yeah, it should be fun. Let you guys know if I have a good haul from
I'm
there.
also like, yeah, I'm not like a rock details hater. You know, I was just
no.
like,
It sounds like you're an anti-geo.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was just like, wow. I was like, I love rocks. Oh gosh, that does not sound great. But no, I actually, when I was in Arizona, I feel like there's lots of, okay, I'm just gonna stop here because it's just not
you're fine.
It's not gonna go anywhere too well. Sam, how did your first 5-minute demos to now? What was the point that you feel like, okay, I got it? You know, like I turned the corner. These are solid.
I feel like I was better at them back then. Because I was more nervous.
Now there's not enough nerves to keep you on edge now.
Yeah, well, because I've done the demos so many times that it's like I just need to have it. I just need to do a little bit of setup right beforehand to make sure everything still works. And sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, I feel like the very first one I did was at an event called Battle Hack in Toronto, and that one they had a timer that was 5 minutes.
Oh,
it was like a 5-minute timer, like right in front of the stage. So that one, and that
sounds daunting. I don't like
it. They had told me it was like kind of like a game because like it was run by the PayPal DevRel team, which existed at the time, and like it was like that was like an event that was like all the DevRel people would be at. So it was kind of like the timer thing was like, it was like I think if you went over, they probably wouldn't really stop you, but it was just like I don't know, it was like part of a game where you're just like,
there's some pride. Yeah.
Yeah. So that one, the night before, I like practiced for like 3 hours. So like the very first demo I did went perfectly because I like stayed up all night in my hotel room freaking out about it. And that's what I used to do like every time. I still do that like a lot.
Do you know why my first demo failed?
Why?
My first demo failed because what's the first thing you do before you get up to give a talk? You don't want somebody calling you, so you put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Well, guess what happens when you're in Do Not Disturb? You don't get the text messages from Twilio.
That's really funny.
So now I have a special Do Not Disturb mode where any of my Twilio numbers can still reach me. So only my Twilio numbers can reach me
Nice.
during Twilio Do Not Disturb. But yeah.
I've had stuff like that before too. Like when I was very first starting on the team, like there was always like we would always talk about like demo fails and stuff. It's like it's gonna happen, it's always gonna happen. But I was like pretty lucky, and I guess like they'd really cemented that in my head that like I didn't really have my first like demo failure until like maybe 3+ years in. And even then, like I've had some where it's like, you know, you make mistakes during it, but you can always kind of like like, and sometimes when you make like an error, when you get an error during a demo, like sometimes that just kind of adds to it because it adds to the authenticity, and then it gives you
you
chance
fix
to
something
else. Yeah. and that's fun unless you're like really strapped for time. But then there was one, there's like what you were just saying, like we're like the fail part of a demo fail being not something that actually had to do with your demo really, but like some external factor. Like I did a talk where I was showing how to use Redis queue with Django, and like I was noticing that during the demo, it was at Pi Gotham, so like the Python conference in New York. And during the demo, it was like I had the audience like texting in or something, and it was just like it worked for me, but I kept seeing a bunch of like errors popping up, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And then like afterwards, I found out like I got off stage, and it looked like my thing was like broken, but it was actually like the errors didn't, like it still worked, like the people were still getting responses,
right?
Kind of like looked like it wasn't working on stage. So I was like oh damn, like there's just like one piece of it that I was like, oh, like this error checking that I did like didn't, like it was like a minor error that wouldn't really stop it from working, but I don't know.
I had one once where I was doing, I don't remember if I was coding or live coding, but I remember asking people like Craig why this stuff wasn't working. And I was trying to do something, and NPM was down. So I couldn't run any node code because it's trying to pull stuff from NPM and there's nothing there. And so I was getting all these errors about like cannot load so-and-so SDK. And I'm like, why is this not working all of a sudden? This was working before. It's not happening. And it's like, it had nothing to do with me.
That kind of stuff has happened to me before, and that's awful. Like, it's even when you have like a backup version and you're like, yeah, this
doesn't matter.
And when you're like, when you try running that and it doesn't work and you're like, what? Like, I didn't change anything.
Yeah. That's real. So I know you do some kind of community volunteer work. Is there any like orgs that you do stuff with that you want to shout out while you have the platform that we have here?
Oh yeah, I organized with this group called Food Not Bombs, where like we take food that was going to be thrown away from grocery stores every Sunday, and we take like they donate the food that they would normally go to the dumpster, and we take that because a lot of it's still like perfectly good. Yeah. We take that and cook it and serve it in Tompkins Square Park every Sunday.
Oh, nice.
So like, what's today? Tuesday. So the other day they did that. I didn't because I'm in South Jersey. But yeah, so it's cool because like, I think like almost 50% of the food that gets produced gets wasted at the market level, like at the grocery store. Not even like in your kitchen when you still have food on your plate. And your mom's just like, there's children starving out there and you're wasting this. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like grocery stores throwing away a lot of food because it'll be like, a piece of fruit that's bruised or like lettuce that's like almost slightly wilted or something that you could still totally get, but like maybe it's going to go bad soon. So they throw it out and we like kind of get it from them before they throw it out and then cook it and serve it. So that's cool. And that's like, I guess like kind of like a decentralized group. So there's chapters in every city. Not every city, but there's probably one in Denver. It's probably like, and
there's. I've worked with another group called like Joy's Kitchen here in Denver, which does that, but they don't cook it. They basically get all the shipments of the food. They bring it, and like twice a week they have like, or maybe it's even every day. They have basically a storefront where people can just come through and grab the stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
I think in Denver also. I don't know if it's Denver or it might be Boulder. I don't know. Somewhere in Colorado, there's like a food rescue program where like. It's like dozens of people part of this food rescue network where like I think they pick up a bunch of food on bikes and they take it to like and we were doing that for a while in New York because there's all these community fridges and community
we have community fridges in Denver too where you basically like people just go take usually a lot of the packaged food and just throw it in those fridges.
And I think in Denver there was like a actual project. I forget what it's called. I think it was like I don't know if it was Denver or Boulder. I'm getting my Colorado cities confused, but it was something like the Boulder Food Rescue or Denver Food Rescue or something. Yeah. And we were like, they wrote like a guide on how to do that. So we were like looking at that too. So that was pretty cool. And you get like, it's kind of funny. You run into like a lot of different kinds of people because like the food we serve is all vegan, like for a variety of reasons, but also like because if meat is getting thrown away, that's more likely to actually be go bad more quickly. But like, so you get like a weird demographic of like, sometimes people are there because they're like all about the veganism part, and sometimes people are there because they're like the food waste stuff, and then sometimes you get your punk anarchist types who are there, and then you get it's like you get like a whole variety of people where you're like you get your techie professional, and then your crust punk, and then it's just it's kind of funny.
Do you identify more with the crust punk or the techie professional? Where do you feel like you fit into that?
Yeah, a little bit of both. Like usually I'm wearing a band shirt right now, Weekend Nachos, like a power violence band from Chicago. So like if I were at Food Not Bombs right now, someone would probably be like, "Oh, sick Weekend Nachos shirt." Well, I guess I would know all the people there. If I were at a random other one like the Seattle or something, someone would probably comment.
I'm also wearing a Chicago band shirt, so we got that in common. I was out not long ago and saw someone wearing a shirt that I thought was a joke, but it was like a bunch of McDonald's characters, but wearing in the style of some heavy metal band, and it was literally, I don't remember what it was, but it was literally a cover band that played some
Max Sabbath.
Yes, it was Max Sabbath. I knew you would know, but it was a Max Sabbath shirt, and I was like, "Oh, that's a fun, cool shirt." And I'm like, "Oh," he's like, "Oh no, it's a real band."
Yeah, it's like a McDonald's themed Black Sabbath cover band.
Yeah,
I never listened to them, but I've seen people send me stuff about them.
It was just a fun shirt because it's like all the McDonald's characters, but just fully punked out.
Yeah.
Oh,
I loved it. I love it, Sam. It was vibes. It was good energy having you on today. I'm like, I feel like, Sam, you've lived many lives. Many lives. You've been to many places. No, but I really appreciated you kind of running us through your journey, kind of sharing what you've learned along the way. It's always a fun delight, just catching up with you. I was like, even though I feel like we're doing these things on screen, but Alex, what you got? What did you take away today?
I thinking about the progression that here's actually something that I noticed today, and I know we've got a few minutes. So Bianca and I both come from a startup background. So we've both done the scrappy startup thing, and then Twilio's not that right now.
Yeah.
But you have also done the startup scrappy thing, and yet you've always been a Twilio. And I think that's so cool that that thread exists within Twilio, and we get to kind of add to that. And it's just fun to hear those stories about when it was a scrappy startup, because you're talking about doing things that I had to do at other jobs where you're running around doing crazy things at the last second because someone's got to do it, and we just got to make this thing work. So it's fun to hear those stories in the DNA of the org that we're all at that is a little bit different now, which is okay. And I think we're all happy to not have those crazy moments in the same way as we've grown up. But
yeah, it's for me, starting at Twilio was a scrappy startup kind of job. But then you guys started, and this was your corporate job.
Yes.
Because now Twilio is a lot bigger. I don't know how many people work at Twilio now.
I want to say 6 or 7K, but I don't know the number off the top of my head.
At least 6K. I definitely feel like it's 6K.
Yeah. So that's 20 times bigger than when I started.
I mean, this is the largest company that I've been formally employed by 100x. Nice. 70 was the largest before this. So,
wow.
Yeah. I would say this is 5, even 1,000 at a company was a lot for me. It started to feel a little large.
When Twilio was 1,000, I was just oh yeah, Twilio's big now.
A big company. No, yeah. And I think even just the ability to embrace the different seasons or the different versions, I think of the company. And I love how just your work, your energy has just kind of evolved over time to kind of meet the moment. And I think that is just such a testament of the products will change, the people will, come in and out. But I think how do you remain authentic? How do you allow yourself to just kind of adjust to change in a way that, you learn something or you grow in a different way. So I really also appreciated that aspect of just like how you've been able to adjust, but while also not losing, parts of yourself. So
Yeah, for sure.
this is really, really good stuff. They also thank you, shout out to you, your mom for letting us have a
Crash her
studio.
house. Yeah.
Studio in home. So
She's
shout out.
taking a nap right now.
No, that's real. That's real.
She's
So
not
shout out.
watching you. Come on.
She was earlier. She was like over there. Like,
Aw, love it.
She's probably over it. I remember when I first started this job, and I'd be like, "Hey, I'm like gonna be on screen." My parents would be like, "We want to watch," and now I don't tell them anymore because like it's been too much. But like my first webinar or two, they were definitely there.
yeah, she kept on offering to make me food. Like, she's like, "Do you want me to make you?" And I'm like, "Just, I'm about to go online."
yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Gotta focus with my stream friends. But yeah, Sam
brought me like fruit and stuff. I
Nice.
was like, I'm gonna eat this right now on screen.
I mean, I've
There you go.
had my fair share of stuff. But yeah,
For
Sam,
sure.
it was an absolute blast hanging with you. We'll definitely keep us posted on what you continue to build. We'd love to just kind of share out more of the things that you're creating. If you're not connected to Sam, I think Sam did share some of his like socials, but we'll make sure you can find Sam.
Email. Thanks for having me on. I definitely always happy to be on stream.
Yeah.
Cool. Yay.
And Bianca and I will be back next week, same time, same place, 2 p.m. Eastern time to do more A/B testing. To maybe we'll build, maybe we'll have a guest. We'll see. It's gonna be a surprise, just like the rounded corners. It's gonna be a surprise.
We do have guests.
But, yeah.
So yeah,
Thank
we'll
you
have
all.
a guest.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.